Yes. And let's get started. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon to all. Thank you very much for your joining us today. We really appreciate your time to join us back to Better series. Today, we're gonna talk about the proactive SOC concept to address how do you measure the efficiency of your security infrastructure and how to transform your traditional SOC to proactive SOC. This is Ahmet Top speaking. I am the Business Development Manager in Barikat Cybersecurity WLL, based in Doha, Qatar, actually. While giving a little bit time to all attendees for joining in, I will give some information about today's session with housekeeping notes. And we had really great webinars so far at different platforms, and it will be continue for later dates. We will continue to inform you for following events through email and the social media notifications. Please continue to follow us from our social accounts, which will be shared after webinar for registered user actually. We hope you can join those webinars. Don't worry if you miss a whole or some part of the session, which will be recorded for the on-demand purposes. And so the link will share for unable to join registered user later on. Also, we are expecting from you to invite your colleagues and share this content as valuable asset for utilizing as well. Today, this webinar will be shared session. We are here as Barikat Cybersecurity and Picus Security. Very soon, our special experts will be on stage from Barikat and the Picus team for the live demonstration. Today, we are going to present, hopefully, open discussion with your contributions on how we can validate our security investment continuously and how we can build a proactive approach in our SOC environment to take action, both threat-centric approach and the detection analytic for the cyber resiliency. Actually, here is the agenda for today. Actually, there will be 3 different sections, starting with opening speech with Gökhan and followed with the discussion on how we can protect our investment, especially on cyber security infrastructure. And gonna be live and interactive demonstration will be in place. And of course, we reserve the Q&A session at the end. We will try to answer all your questions during the session. If you type your questions at the chat box, I will moderate them during the session, or the Q&A part, we will handle all of them. If time not allow us to answer all those questions, we will revert back to via your mails as well. I believe that we can start, and I want to introduce you with Mr. Gökhan, who is the Regional Director of Barikat Cybersecurity WLL, as opening speech. Please, stage is yours, Gökhan.
Thank you, Ahmet. Thank you. I just want to say you all welcome to our session today. So for your time saving for this session for us. I'll not just keep it very long, but I will keep it very short to pass by to do some of the current situations that we face with some of the digitalization parts of the world, and then the cybersecurity part, that's what we are facing very quickly. As we all know that COVID-19 is not only disrupted our life, but also significantly increased our digital footprint and exposure to cyber threats. And the cyber threat landscape is evolving rapidly, and protecting against potential cyber attacks requires rapid monitoring and response. The longer that a cybersecurity incident goes before it's remediated, and the greater the potential damage and expense to the organizations. The cyber criminals never take a break. While a company may observe standard business hours, there is no guarantee that attackers will do the same. So addressing these threats is the responsibility of an organization's cybersecurity operations centers. So actually, after this part, that I will give the words to my friends to continue with the presentation that they have. As Barikat and Picus, we are here to help you in Qatar region with any kind of help that you may need. And I will give the word to Ahmet and Burak to continue with the session. So again, thank you very much for attending our session today.
Okay. Thank you very much, Gökhan, for your sharings. Let's move on to next section, which we are going to present with Burak today. And let me introduce first Burak Koyuncu is the business development and the sales analyst in the Picus Security. And Burak, I want to start with this part with a question to you. You know, we are passing through in a very extreme period with this pandemic and caused lots of change in our business life, like a new operation models came up, the new business model is created, and also they created new attack surface that challenge us. Those new attacks is challenging us dramatically. As global brand with your variety of customers, you have all over the world. How do you see the current status and what is the breach and attack simulation area you are trying to address for helping us with those new challenges as Picus? And please share some details about the Picus as well.
Thank you for the question, Ahmet. First of all, we're so excited to be this part of this such a great event. I'd like to welcome all the attendees on the behalf of Picus Security. So before we jump in the breach and attack simulation concept, I would like to talk about the state of cybersecurity actually. When your organization is a startup or large enterprise, cybersecurity is must for all. So in today's world, like the importance of cybersecurity sharply increase. And with the COVID-19 pandemic, cybersecurity started to become the part of all the business process actually. So when you look at the numbers here from the cybersecurity perspective, $124 billion were spent by organizations for the cybersecurity products or service in 2020. And also 80% of leaders in the security or other security workers are not sure or confident that they are ready for the next cyber attack or major cyber attacks. Also, we need to evaluate the state of cybersecurity from the SOC perspective. And 26% of breaches just detected by the SOCs actually. How about rest? Like 74% weren't detected, and this signals that where the problem start actually in the SOCs actually. And lastly, average number of security controls deployed by enterprise is 80. Like we have many security controls in place, but we never know that how much we utilize them, how much we use them effectively. So what I mean is, like in summary, like we invest a lot in security technologies. We harmonize it with the effort in cybersecurity, but still, nevertheless, like the organizations are not ready for the cyber attacks, actually. We can skip the next slide, actually, Ahmet. And let's look at the state of cybersecurity also from the Gartner's perspective. So more dollars spent does not translate into more security. Like, yes, you doing your investments, plus you put in effort, but does not guarantee the security readiness. And most organizations have no idea how operationally effective their security technologies are. You can think like Equifax case or FireEye case. That could be the example for this, because they invest a lot, they have a security professionals, they have effort, but still they are vulnerable for this cyber attacks actually. So breach, like I like to come to breach and attack simulation technology. Like breach and attack simulation technology is an automated simulation of advanced adversarials activities to determine the gaps to be remediated before the real attackers can. Like BUS platform, like simplify the testing. It continues to test your security infrastructure in your production environment. and it is best way for the enterprise or other organizations to to understand or emulate the trend landscape. Gartner recognized this area like years ago, and it's named it like BAS, like breach and attack simulation. Also in the next slide, if you can pass, like top security, and like Gartner just recently published new report and just listed top security and risk management trends for 2021. Breach and attack simulation just listed as a one of the management trends for 2021. It's really increasing, the usage of breach and attack simulation increasing all around the world recently. So from the breach and attack simulation, if I come to the Picus Security actually, Picus Security, the pioneer of the breach and attack simulation actually, and is a new security validation methodology coalescing the offensive and defensive security approach, and give the opportunity to the security teams to do purple teaming actually. So breach and attack, Picus Security just founded in 2014, and in its HQ in US, but we have many offices in all around the world. You can see it from the map. And Picus Security platform, we call it complete security validation platform. And it simplified the security operations and optimized the defenses. And Picus just awarded as a cool vendor by Gartner in 2019 in the security and risk management area. And with Picus platform, you can test your investments, and with the Picus actionable mitigation guidance, you can increase the effectiveness of your security controls. Let's give an example. Like you have a firewall in place or web application firewall IPS in place. With Picus platform, you can test it 7 days, 24 hours. Your security controls. We focus on the security controls. And with the Picus helps, it provides mitigation guidance. If, like Picus says, if you enable these signatures on your firewall or web application firewall, etc., you can block these attacks. So that means like you can increase the effectiveness of your security controls in real time. And that's it. So such a platform actually all the time helped the organizations to increase the investments, profit of investment actually.
Yeah, actually those are the great achievements, Burak, and they're very promising. As you know, there's the threats and the risks are not the last year or the COVID time issue. Is the long time we are fighting them, and as of now, lots of enterprise have already using some methodologies to assess themselves. What are the differentiations and the values comes with the Picus?
Mm-hmm. So if you can skip the next slide, I start to explain. So there are many traditional assessment methods already there, like there are red teaming, penetration testing, and vulnerability management. So I will talk about why. And so let's start with the vulnerability management. So like vulnerability management is already there. We use these techniques, penetration testing, vulnerability management, or red teaming to check or test our security infrastructure. So for the vulnerability management, it took 100 days to patch the 50% of vulnerabilities in 2019. And prioritizing or patching the vulnerabilities are lengthy, and it's very difficult to do that. And assessment speed of vulnerability management is quick, but on the other hand, response speed is very low. If we come to the penetration testing, yes, it's very necessary, and organizations should be doing that, like continue to doing that. But adversaries are working around the clock, so they don't care if we had a pen test a month ago or 2 months ago. Like that's why the assessment should be continuous and 7 days and 24 hours from our perspective. For the red teaming, actually, it is very, very hard to accessible, like it's very accessible technology, activity actually, and assessment is take to complete a very long time to do that. So like we know these technologies are very important to test security infrastructure, but from the Picus perspective, from the breach and attack simulation perspective, if you can skip down at next slide, we look at this perspective actually. In this graph, where does the Picus sit actually on the right corner, continues as a continuous security control validation. What we offer is, we say with the Picus platform, run the assessment and get the immediate results around the clock. And it's automated, it's a trend-centric approach, it's automated. And we say, get the visibility on the attacker behavior because it's a threat-centric approach, and get the visibility on the uncovered security gaps actually. And plus, we say, reduce your risk immediately with the actionable security insights. And because we all the time provide the signature-based mitigation suggestions, and we say, enable them, enable the signatures, and increase the effectiveness of your security controls. And lastly, it is very important point, I think, and we say, on the relevant threat activity, make the rational decisions for the security investments. But it is based on the threat activity action, not the fear or uncertainty. Because we say, make the investment according to web application firewall, etc., etc. That's why continuous security validation keeps a really important place in today's world. And also, let me give you an example actually. Like, you do pen test or the vulnerability management process, and you got many patches to do. They are very critical, and it will take 2 or 3 days to make this patch process. And that means like you will be vulnerable until 2 or 3 weeks. And what we say is, and we say, you already made the investment, and like firewall, IPS, and web application firewall. We say, enable the signatures, close your gates on your security controls, and take your time to make the patch. And we say, utilize your security investments actually, and what already you have in use. And that's why, so you will have a time to patch and we will have a time for the patch management actually.
Yeah, actually, you made a great summary for what the Picus is covering, which areas in the security side. Thank you very much, Burak.
Thank you.
And this is the warm-up section before the exciting demo. So without losing the time, we are moving on to the more exciting part, as I mentioned, with live demonstration to show real value of the Picus platform. And I will jump on to the introduction to our expert. The Kutlu Durmush is the pre-sales manager based in Doha from the Barikat Cybersecurity, and the İshak Çelikkanat from the Picus Security team, and he is the cybersecurity consultant. And guys, the stage is yours, and you will do the demonstration. I will hand over the desktop to you, İshak. Thank you.
Thank you, Ahmet. I appreciate it. And welcome to the demonstration. Can you, okay, thank you. Welcome to the practical demonstration, some of the MITRE attacks and how we use them and how we assess them. First of all, I want to introduce myself, and this is Kutlu speaking. And I just joined the Barikat Qatar team as a pre-sales manager, and just came from Barikat Turkey Ankara team. And this is my first day actually in the office, and I'm also very excited about that. And I'm also in the Barikat since 2018 and more than 2 years. So let's begin now. We start. I want to say that the most important thing, of course, in the cybersecurity manner, first of all, we have to define the attacks, you know, and because if you can't define anything, how we can stop and prevent it. So then we have to detect what we defend, and after that, prevention and validation and mitigation and so on comes. So we can move on, İshak, please. And if you want to introduce yourself first,
of course,
I will be appreciated. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Kutlu. My name is İshak. Çelikkanat. I've been working as a SOC analyst and cybersecurity consultant for the Picus Security now for more than 2 years. I'm based in Istanbul, but I'm responsible for the Middle East region. Thank you very much, Kutlu. We can move on.
Okay, when we look at first, when we compare the reactive SOC SOCs and proactive SOCs, you know, for the reactive SOCs manner, collecting as many logs as possible and triaging many alerts as possible, responding as to many alerts incidents as possible. This approaches is not much benefit for the SOCs systems. So it's not good an option at the end of the day. But on the other hand, approaching the proactive SOC concept, identifying and collecting the right logs, you know, which lets you contextualize the threats and the attack surface for the visibility part. So for the detection part, anticipating imminent threats and weighs up updates and fixes detection capabilities against the challenging adversary landscape. So on the response side, implementing an agile and automated incident response process and to provide mitigation within the network and endpoint security systems. So we learn now 2 different approaches. At the moment, I want to ask, what is the good log for you? What is the good data? Of course, we can move on next OS. And of course, we can measure it with quality and some performance factors, that missing logs, irrelevant logs, and time gap. We should ask ourselves, you know, the right questions to find the right answers about the good log. Are we collecting the right log sources? Are we collecting the right logs with the right level of detail? And the last question is, are we in a time gap? Are we losing time while we are collecting the logs? No delay after the, you know, the event must be most critical one. This is just because if you lose time, the time are when I'm talking about the seconds and minutes, and maybe it sometimes go hours and days. We are not collecting the logs correctly. It might be irrelevant, and we have made to face the worst scenario, and it might be cost us a lot. As I summarize, when we are challenging the finding the right log sources with right log within the right level of detail, and the biggest thing is taking time on time, as I mentioned, we have to say taking the right details, logs from the right log sources in real time. It must be near real time, maybe acceptable. It will be very beneficial of our SOC systems. So in SOC, that we try to figure out what we are struggling all the time, answering some of these questions. So what is our log coverage? Can we measure our insecurity posture? Then we can move on. Yes, it's your turn, İshak.
Okay, thank you very much for the introduction and the first couple of explanations, Kutlu. Thank you. So moving on, actually, I would like to explain a real life scenario in here. Kutlu explained that there are a couple of phrases such as a proactive approach to the SOC or SOC, as you may call that. So there are a couple of different approaches, but when there's an APT out there on the wildlife, like APT-X is out, so what am I going to do about it? So you have your security leader coming out to you and saying that APT-X is out there, so are we ready for it? And more importantly, is it relevant for us? So your red teamer so think of me as red teamer. I'm going to work on the simulate and all of the known and new TTPs of this new APT-X, and my SOC team will go to the SIEM side and check their SIEM rules to figure out that if they can realize if that TTP is coming out there, they can have the good logs to cover that and good alarms created for that TTPs to be detected in our environment. And on the last part, our SecOps team needs to do some configuration and review their configurations against that APT if their security controls are available security controls are positioned to block their attack. And on top of that, if everybody does everything perfectly in a perfect world, your business is probably secure. against that specific threat. So for each threat that is out there, and you know that this is not very rare happening. Like every month, there's a new APT out there crashing somebody, and we are here considering ourselves, saying that is this APT is relevant for me? Am I the next target for the APT? So this cycle has to be continuously repeated for each APT or each malware that is out there. So that's a huge labor. You might agree with me as well. That's our problem. So what will Picus do about that? So in our workshop, we will discuss this, and I will demonstrate what am I going to do about these issues on top of that as well. So moving on to you, Kutlu, for explaining actually our use cases here.
Yeah, some modern log management practices. In terms of log management, finding the best approach and the best security policy, how can we train ourselves? How can we train and make more resilient for our systems? These three use cases that we're going to explore today are in our workshop, as you can see. Now Ishak's going to get the stage, and I want to get on the for the workshop topology, and you can explain us now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Kutlu. So our workshop topology that we will use today, we have a rather small topology in here with a couple peers, a couple attack vectors that we have currently positioned. So we have our WAN in here, we have our LAN zone and DMZ zone, and we have a FortiGate firewall and a Splunk SIEM available in our environment. So in our LAN zone, I have positioned my endpoint peer, which is my agent running in the endpoint zone with the same security profiles. And in my DMZ zone, I have another DMZ peer, which has the same security profiles assigned to my DMZ servers. And I have an attacker on the cloud. So this is a rather small topology once again, but Picus is able to be positioned in much more complex topologies as well. In a distributed and large enterprises, it is very easy to deploy and it can get up and running in a couple of minutes, actually. So we will use this one. And our first use case.
Yes, and in the first part of use case, as you can see, the proactively validating the log status for a particular trade or an adversary group. So we will gonna play some couple of attacks, and we will see how we react based on that attacks. And when we consider ourselves in a SOC team, the same. And imagine you have to imagine the daily operations. You know, every day at least one attack is producing from the wildlife, and so we have to ask it that attacks when that attacks come to our environment, and think me as a SOC responsible person, of course. And what will we do, and how my environment detection capabilities react those attacks? For example, an APT. First of all, in our first use case, we won't block any attack, but log. And finally, Ishak, we are going to start now. And are you ready to simulate the attack, Ishak?
Yeah, I'm ready. Thank you very much for the ball.
So, dear participants, prepare yourselves. Ishak will shoot you on site now.
Okay, thank you very much. So our best practice in here, once again, I will run an attack and I will show what kind of reaction that our current SIEM will get against that attack. So I will use the Lazarus threat and an exchange threat. So I believe you can see my screen right now. Kutlu, can you confirm? Okay, yes. Thank you very much. So under the threat library, I am selecting my threat that I want to assess right now. So I have a couple of saved queries beforehand. So you can look for any threat that you want to execute in your environment on demand. But for the example's sake, today we are going to go for the Lazarus threat groups power attack by attack scenario, this version. So once you take a look at that, you can see there are details about the attack and also the kill chain phases and the affected products available, and the description about the attack is available, explaining what kind of targets that it's targeting and when it's been hitting and how long it's out there. So every important detail about the attack that you might want to learn is available underneath here.
So we don't have to go to any other sites to explore the attack, you know? We don't have to research another like MITRE website. Just we can find the answer from the right panel in Picus.
Exactly. Once you click on the attack, you can get any information related to that attack, which is important for you, is available underneath here. So you can see the actions of the attack. So this APT, this Lazarus, has 12 different actions that has been doing under MITRE attack framework, under process discovery, process injection, account discovery, etc., using all of those different kind of actions underneath MITRE attack framework. So what I'm going to do here is today, I will single assess this attack to see what my organization, what my environment will react to this attack based on the detection wise. So while this attack is being played, this will take a minute or two while this is being playing. So I will go and explain how Picus works in a generic fashion while we are waiting for this. So in here, first of all, we are going to position our peers. So these are our agents, we call them peers. So to any point A, to any point B, you can position two peers, two virtual machines of mine, and you can run the attacks in between. So once you deploy all of your peers, all of your agents to be play the attack in between, you can define your vectors and you can assign them roles. So in here, I have two vectors today I will work on. The first one is the cloud peer and the endpoint peer that I will do the attack. From my cloud peer, I selected as the attacker, and my victim is my endpoint peer, and this is an endpoint type vector. And the other one is my cloud peer to victim as DMZ2 peer, and this will be a network type vector. So once I've enabled this and selected my roles and assigned my roles into these, and I will go to the policy and simply select what kind of attack types that I want to do targeting this DMZ2 peer, DMZ2 machine within my DMZ zone. So I have my web application attacks available in here, enabled, and underneath different protocols and different affected products, you can select, I want to do these kind of attacks affected to these products in my DMZ2. And of course, you can filter out by the affected operating systems as well. So you define your peers, you positioned your agents, you define your vectors, and you define your policy and what kind of attacks that you want to do. And now the attacks will continuously play. But of course, today we are going to select an APT, the Lazarus APT, and we have played that. Under the simulation feed, we can see that if the attack is already being played, yes, the attack is already been played. And I will also play another attack from my threat library for my other vector. This was an exchange attack that I have selected. So remote code execution for exchange. I will also assess this one as well to see the result for that. So after that, I have played the attack. The result can come blocked or not blocked. But today I'm focusing on the SOC side. So I will go to my detection analytics module. And under the analytics feed, you can see that my attack, APT38 power attack by version, is not being detected. But I'm able to block that attack. So I'm not able to detect that attack. Once you click on it, you can see that which actions underneath this attack is able to be detected or not. So I'm not able to detect any kind of action underneath here. So with one simple click, I have played the attack and I get detailed information about the attack and what kind of actions that it take and which part of those I'm able to prevent. And on top of that, more importantly in here, is this scenario detect. So I'm not able to detect any of these, even though I'm blocking it. So there must be an issue with my detection. And for another attack, Microsoft Exchange validation, I'm still not able to detect this as well. This is also not detected after I played this. So once again, I played the attack and I've seen my results. I've checked my SIEM. I have a Splunk SIEM in here once again. I've seen that the attack is not being detected. Both of my attacks are not being detected, although one of them is blocked. So this one was my first scenario against a specific threat that I want to see my position in. And it's really easy to understand what kind of level of security or on my SOC I'm available, I'm ready against that threat. So this one was my first use case.
Yes. We can move on to the second one. And our next use case is looking for the detection opportunities in our security stack. What we mean here about the security stack, as you know, firewalls, maybe some IDSs and IPSs, and some other kind of security devices. Especially, we will look to if we can't prevent the attack, what Picus says about the attack It's the important part of it. And let's see then what are the Picus suggestions. İshak, this time only shoot me, please.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much. So once again, just like Kutlu said, I have my exchange attack, right? I've played in here. So I already have my FortiGate firewall available in here. I must be able to log this attack. So let me see if if FortiGate has mitigation or a specific signature for that attack. So once again, I will go to my threats and threat library. I will find that specific threat, the exchange threat. And once I click on it, I'm able to see that there's a prevention tab showing me that using my FortiGate next generation firewall under the IPS module, there is a signature specified for that. So I can simply click on it and I can get the signature. This is as the version with the FortiGate. So however, FortiGate shows this, I'm giving the exact same thing under my vendor specific mitigations. So I will go simply move to my FortiGate and I will find my policy, IPS policy in here, Picus Security DMZ protection. And I have my signature here. I found it already in order to save time. So I have my signature available. I can find any signature that Picus shared in here. So it's already there. So I will go there and simply enable this one to monitor against it and create a log against that attack. I can actually put this to block as well. This will both generate log and this will both prevent it. So once I enabled this, I applied my rule and I will simply move back to my Picus screen to go back to the attack and assess this one once again. So under the detection analytics, of course, this will take another second. I would like to explain while this attack is played out and queried for the SIEM operation. We have a unique feature in Picus called dictionary validation. So when I played an attack, even though I have logs specified for that attack, logs related to the attack or not related for the attack, there's a query I've been made. So if I was a manual operator in my SOC, I will go to my SIEM and I will try to look for details about an attack, and I will try to detect it. I will try to create the right query in order to detect that attack. So it will create me maybe hundreds of different logs after I write that query. So let me find an attack, for example, like an F5 attack that I played already. So it has created me 2 different logs, but only using the unique Picus dictionary validation, only I'm able to validate one. So the other one, if there's 100 or more, the rest is unimportant for me based on the quality of my query. The rest of the attacks are unimportant for me. The only important query in here is the one that I have written and shown in here. So this log came from the Fortinet side, is a raw log saying that this attack is blocked and it is written to my Picus. So I'm focused to see which log is related to my specified attack. So let's see what happened to my latest threat that I've just played. So now I can see that the threat switched back to the block and detected. When I click on it, I can see that the attack is already blocked and I can see my raw log in here. But moving back, you can also see that how long does it take for my attack to be played out and how long did it take my Splunk to react to that? How long did it take like my logs to be written into the Splunk? So this is a very, very efficient environment because it's a small environment. It may take like 10 to 15 minutes in your environment. We can still detect that and you can make different configurations, tweaks in the Picus to identify that as well. So it will also measure how good of a performance when you make a query, your Splunk or other SIEM vendors are returning to that query. So this one was the second use case. I hope you enjoyed that. Moving on, it's back to you, Kutlu.
Okay. Then this one was simple actually, but moving on the next one. Okay, and so our third use case is also about the detection opportunities, but this time it's about your IT environment. So what we need to do in our IT environment to detect the attack, about the detection of the attack. And so what we'll have to do, especially the collecting the good logs that we mentioned about, and so how Picus help about the mitigations? Ishak, can you answer me that?
Okay, so this is a little bit tricky, but of course it's very simple using Picus. So in your organization, in our organization, I am running a simple attack. Like in my first use case, I played the Lazarus variant, and I've seen that none of the actions underneath Lazarus was detected. So I am not able to get the correct logs, but the Lazarus was prevented. So this is an issue actually. My security operations team can block that action, but as the SOC, I need to be able to get the correct logs in order to create my own reports and alarms as well. Do my side of things actually. So what will Picus do in here? So for the specified ATP, I need to learn what should I log. So using my mitigation, detection mitigation, I can simply look for the threat to see that this is my power and tank path, to see that what I should collect as a log source. So this is referring back to the good log actually, what I should collect in order to get that log. So screen capture via PowerShell or other types of attacks, or for example, clipboard content capturing via PowerShell. So this specified action needs to be collected from these log sources. So underneath PowerShell operational, Picus is directing me to the group policy, and it's directing me to turn on module logging, and underneath group policy, it's also directing me to turn on the PowerShell script block logging. So what I should do in here in order to detect this action underneath clipboard content capturing via PowerShell, I simply need to go to my agent machine. And of course, same goes for my other machines as well. So I need to go to my group policy setting, and I need to navigate my way into the computer configuration, administrator templates, Windows components, and PowerShell. So however Picus directed me, so I have turn on module logging and turn on PowerShell script log logging available in here. So I can simply edit the policy, enable this with collect everything, just like Picus said. And on the other side, PowerShell script log logging, I need to enable it with the option log script log invocation start stop event. So once I apply this, of course, because it's a group policy, I need to also do a GP update force real quick. So now I'm expecting that my PowerShell logs to be forwarded to my Splunk as well. So moving back to my.
So this is just a little suggestion of the Picus. There is more, so many more on the Picus, in the UI.
Definitely. So this is like one simple part of an APT. So you can do this for more attacks. So I'm moving back to my attack simulation feed to see my recent attacks, because I will redo one of my own attacks, and I will go to my APT38 power attack version and simply do a reassessment in here. So this will take another minute, of course, because this is an APT, so it has 12 different actions. Meanwhile, I can also show you that my mitigation page, in order to increase your security level, what I mentioned in the use case 2, you can increase your security level and increase the efficiency of your current investments. And you can also increase the detection capabilities of your recent EDRs and SIEM solutions. So this will also fill up the MITRE use cases. So after I do all of these attacks, this will also fill up my MITRE point of view. So when I do these attacks, you can simply navigate to the MITRE attack framework, and based on the attacks that you've already played, this will fill up that MITRE attack framework. So based on that, you can see that under which techniques and tactics, with which TTPs you are successful to detect or not. So once you click on any of them, you can see that access token manipulation has a elevate privileges to system by using PS get system, and my log source is PowerShell in here, and I'm able to detect this for specified attack. And the rest is also similar, using the different kind of actions and different kind of log sources. If I have my good logs, I'm able to detect and get a good visibility on MITRE attack framework which is the de facto attack framework when you are dealing with these new threats. So once you get your visibility up in MITRE attack framework, you will also be able to get the same visibility, same kind of visibility on the new kind of attacks as well. So once there's a new threat available, it will also similarly use the same techniques and tactics underneath the MITRE attack framework. So you are strong against that, which means that you are also strong against the latest threats using the same techniques and tactics. So my threat is played out, and I will go to my analytics feed to see that my threat is, I guess, yeah, it's waiting on the Splunk. So I have another page here showing that how long does it take my average analysis when I send an attack log query to my Splunk. So it takes on average 10 seconds. And how long does it take for my logging to be written into my Splunk environment as well. So this is a very efficient environment, of course, before the
real time.
Yeah,
before
the attack even finishes, I'm able to detect it. But of course, in a cluster multi-tenant environment, this may be relatively slower. But of course, we are waiting for this. We are expecting this to be like in a highest level possible. But this is a way to measure that as well. So now I have in my live screen, I can see that the attack is detected. So it has 4 logs, 2 of them has been validated. Once you click on an attack, you can see that under the scenario attacks, now the get clipboard command that I have been enabled my logs for is detected. And once you click on it, you can see the relevant logs. So executing pipeline and pipeline execution details is written to my Splunk on my OS level. And you can see once you come underneath here, what I've done was using the PowerShell -c get clipboard command. So my attack used this command in one of the actions. Now I'm able to detect it. So if you do this one by one for other actions of this APT, this Lazarus threat, then you can go to the threat hunting level in order to create alarms for this threat as well. So with one simple click, we've done our detection. We've increased our detection capabilities using the mitigations supplied by Picus in here. So this one was my use case. Anything to add, Kutlu?
No, you can continue.
Did you like my demonstration?
Yeah, very, very cool. Very good.
Okay, thank you very much. So in a summarization, how Picus helped. So I've first shown you the manager is, of course, asking the same questions. Managers never change. Asking that, is Lazarus relevant for us? Are we ready for it? In the old fashion, our red teamer went and tried to get the reverse engineering, which is a painful process, in order to identify, Googled everything, what he can find about this attack. And on top of that, if he is successful, now SOC team is checking it and to see the DTPs and trying to create the SIEM rules, which is a very painful process as well. It takes hours. And after that, our SecOps teams is trying to do something to prevent that attack. And the business should be secure. But now with the Picus, our red teamer with Picus hasn't done anything, simply find its way to the Picus dashboard and find the Picus APT in Picus's attack database.
As far away, just one click. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And he just simulated it to see the results, whether or not blocked or not blocked. So, and our SOC team simply navigated its way to identify what kind of TTPs it's been using and what kind of log sources in order to collect good logs with the right amount of detail without the gap. He or she find it to identify what should be done against that threat. And moving on, my SecOps team has simply find the mitigation in order to block or detect this attack. Now my business is really secure, and more importantly, my investments has paid off. So I'm already using these products because it hasn't shown you that something that you already don't have. So it's just showing you an easier way to make life easier for these teams, especially for the SOC, in order to get the most benefit from our previous investments that I already have at my hand. So that was it. Thank you very much for listening to us, bearing with us. And
thank you for your
very
information.
Much. Thank you very much for your report, but I will keep a little bit more because I took some question from our attendees, and I tried to consolidate some of them. What Picus do when the log management system or any other security device if could not parse the logs correctly?
So if the logs are not parsed correctly, if the logs are coming from, thank you, Ahmet, by the way, if the logs are coming from the prevention side of devices, like for example, firewalls and IPSs, that will also fall this into the not a good log level. So it will be a bad log. So these logs should be parsed correctly in order to be identified as well. So how you can detect it is simply under Picus, you can see that you can look for the attacks that are blocked but not detected. So these are the first things that you should take a look at once you're analyzing the results coming from the Picus side. So you got to go there and see why haven't I detected this, and you can use the query supplied by Picus to go to your SIEM solution to look for the same command to see that if the correct parsing has been made, and it will also help you identify these kind of issues on the parsing side as well.
Oh, okay. Another one is which security vendors do Picus integrate with as of now, or
well,
you can mention about roadmap.
I can actually switch back and show what we have right now under the integration, add integration. These are the integrations that we currently have at hand. We recently added the McAfee SIEM and ATP Defender on the Microsoft side, and the Azure Sentinel, and we have Elastic ArcSight, Carbon Black, QRadar, and Splunk. Of course, we have started with the big guns that everybody is using, but of course, CrowdStrike is on the way for the very next one, and the other big vendors that we remained on site is also being prepared. So we are, as a company, currently really focused on this, and in order to add more and more integrations will be coming every month. Actually, every month there will be something new. This is the current situation right now.
Okay. This is the last question. I know the answer, but I want to raise again to you. For the Picus, this is for the attack simulation module. We can do some tests for our existing or the future investments. This is can we use the attack simulation model for selection of future security infrastructure?
Definitely. Definitely. Actually, Picus has simple tools for that. For example, you are on the hunt for a new EDR. You're already using an EDR and you're not happy with it, or you're using an old-fashioned endpoint security and you want to switch it to a new EDR. So while you are doing the POCs for these EDRs, you can simply use Picus, add an agent to that using that EDR as well, and Picus will show you the comparison as well. So using those vectors, you can simply compare them to see which one is more successful underneath the same kind of attacks against the MITRE attack framework, etc. So because it's a painful process to do POCs. It's not like the old days. So once you decide to buy a new EDR, you cannot go with simply which one is a better interface, etc. So it's got to do the job as well because it's an advanced product. So Picus can easily test those devices using its advanced attack framework, and using those you can simply decide which one to be used in your future investments, because most of our customers are getting help from us in this manner as well while selecting EDRs and other tools.
Okay, it's great. Thank you. This is the last question because we have to run out of time. And for very easy part for you, how much time need for deployment and for the attack simulation, and we can get this result, how long it should take for the assessment?
Well, it takes a couple hours to get it up and running. So we have our prerequisites, and once we select our use cases together, we are deploying our machines. It's very easy to deploy within a couple minutes. After you write simple firewall rules, access rules, the device will be up and running within a couple hours, and you will see the initial results based on attack and initial mitigations actually. Of course, within the couple of hours, if there are any critical mistakes, then you can identify that easily. So most of my POCs that I've done with my customers, that I can identify if there are any kind of stability issues, because we are doing it in a continuous fashion, then it will come up really easy to the surface. So it takes a couple of hours, I can say.
Okay, it's great. Thank you very much, İshak and Kutlu, for the great demonstration. If anyone from the attendees have any question, please contact with us from the info@picussecurity.com and info@barikat.com QA link. We will be happy to answer all your questions. And thank you very much for your time. As a summary, if we say as a last word, how much technology investment have you accomplished so far, or how much technology team you have? The thing is, human is still one of the biggest security vulnerability factor within our organizations. To cover those, the automated tools are enabling us to see exact status of our posture, how much secure we are, and giving threat-centric detection capabilities with leveraging our existing SOC environment. And today we try to show you how much this subject is important and how you can manage it with Picus platform. I want to thank you all for your participation. We try to answer your question as much as possible. We will respond to you directly with related to your question if you send us from the specified emails links. I want to thank you, Picus team and the Barikat cybersecurity team, especially the Miss Gökhan'in, Miss Tuba, and Miss Güliz for their great support behind the scene. And we hope to meet you again for other webinars. See you soon and keep safe and secure. Thank you very much for your participation.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much and have a great day.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.